We've all seen the headlines. A little girl, a quiet town, a devastating ending. And stories like this always leave us asking the same question. How could this happen? But what if that's not the hardest question? What if the harder truth is that we've taught our children to be nice before we've taught them to be safe? To obey adults, to avoid being rude, to freeze instead of react. Because the truth is, danger doesn't always look dangerous at first. And sometimes the lessons we think are protecting our kids are the very things that leave them vulnerable. The truth is, not everything is what it seems. Behind every story, there's more than what we're told. This is where we ask the questions others avoid, where we say the quiet parts out loud. Welcome to Unspoken Truths Unfiltered. This is the unspoken truth behind the story of Athena Strand.
The truth is, most kids aren't taken by monsters hiding in dark alleys. They're taken by someone who knows how to look safe. They know how to look helpful. They know how to look normal, familiar even. And honestly, that's the part of stranger danger we don't really teach these days, because the scariest people usually don't look scary at all.
And today we're talking about one every parent thinks about, but almost nobody wants to fully confront.
Yeah, kidnapping. It's hard to talk about. Child safety. And the uncomfortable truth about people we trust and let into our children's lives, into our lives.
Welcome to Unspoken Truths Unfiltered. I'm Autumn Cross here alongside Beth Justice. We're glad you could join us today.
And what is Unspoken Truths Unfiltered, you ask? It's where we talk about the truths that people feel, but they don't always know how to say out loud.
Or maybe feel uncomfortable talking about.
Yes, we thrive in discomfort.
And today we're talking about one that every parent thinks about. I know I have.
Yep.
But almost nobody wants to fully confront.
We're talking about kidnapping, about child safety.
I think a lot of us grew up hearing, don't talk to strangers, stranger danger. I mean, I was telling my father about it this morning. It was completely different when we were growing up. But honestly, that feels outdated.
Right? Like my mind, honestly, is a creepy guy with candy, like luring kids.
I got some candy
Strapped to my thigh. I mean, but that's like what you think of.
It's not funny.
It is not funny. I'm sorry. But the point is the story you get when you're a kid looks one way in your mind. And then the truth is so much darker and terrifying, because most predators understand that was the messaging. They know that kids are looking for that creepy guy hiding and lurking, not the guy you trust and you know and are comfortable seeing. So the predators adapt, and they don't approach children looking dangerous. They look super approachable. They're smiling, friendly, helpful.
Yeah.
So much creepier.
Yeah. Oof.
And it might even be someone that your family knows. I mean, I've watched a couple of Netflix docs where the family friend turns out to be a total perv, right? Some crazy kidnapper.
It's terrifying, really. I think that's what makes parents uncomfortable. Because how do you teach your children discernment without making them afraid of everyone?
Yeah, you can't just be like, don't talk to anyone ever or you will get murdered.
Yes.
Like, that is not a practical approach.
No, you can't do that.
But it's also just really uncomfortable because you don't want to scare the kids.
You don't want to scare them. Yeah.
And I think the goal is shifting from teaching fear to teaching awareness. Experts are now encouraging kids to think about tricky people instead of stranger danger. A tricky person is someone who is asking them to keep secrets or asking kids to help them, trying to isolate them or make them feel uncomfortable. Because safe adults don't ask kids for help. Like we don't. We would ask another adult.
Right.
And I think that's important for kids to realize.
That actually comes from child safety experts, too. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children talks about teaching kids specific behaviors to recognize when they're in danger instead of just avoiding strangers, because many dangerous situations involve someone who appears trustworthy.
And honestly, I think we unintentionally teach kids to prioritize politeness over their safety, especially girls, because you're not wanting to be rude. You don't want to embarrass people. You don't want to overreact. You're always worried about what you're putting out and putting off.
You're scared of confrontation.
Yeah. But the truth is, like, survival sometimes requires overreacting.
Right. Do you think we accidentally train kids to ignore their instincts?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Because we reward obedience really early, like starting from a very young age. If you go in the potty, you get a treat. Like, we teach them to
Yeah.
follow our rules from the very beginning. We praise children for hugging relatives they don't want to hug. We tell them not to interrupt adults. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I heard kids should be seen and not
Not
heard.
heard. Yeah. I
That's like
remember that.
the
Yeah.
thing. So we're just always teaching them to respect authority and to be nice and respect your elders. And predators understand those rules. They understand them better than anyone. And that's the sick part.
Yeah. That's honestly chilling when you think about it.
One thing experts recommend now is actually teaching children, you are allowed to be rude. We have something in Cub Scouts where we say you yell and then you run and then you tell. So another one is like no, go, yell, tell. But basically it's say no, you don't want this, then run, go tell an adult what happened. And that creates this like environment where if it's a stranger that you don't know, or not just a stranger, if it's someone that's a adult talking to you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you run and say no matter what.
Yeah. I like that.
And we actually practiced this at Cub Scouts. The parents stood on one side and the kids were on the other, and we had to like do the scenario and reenact them just to teach them.
That's neat.
It's pretty cool. And we also have a buddy system, which is super effective. So you can't go anywhere without your buddy.
Yeah.
Like even to the bathrooms when we're camping, you have to bring a buddy.
We do that.
It just, you never know, like when you're in a place like, especially out in the woods, you know?
Yeah, that too. But we do that in public.
Yeah. Because a predator's greatest weapon is often a child's hesitation. And you learn this over time. And it's like, it's just something you don't want to talk about, but it's real.
Right. You don't want to think about it. You want to avoid it. And honestly, adults need that reminder too. We've been each other's bathroom buddies many times before.
We have. Yeah. We never go to a strange bathroom without each other.
No. I don't even think we go to the bathroom without each other.
I mean, most girls do always have a bathroom.
We travel in packs.
We do.
Yeah.
The truth is, though, most danger doesn't announce itself. It smiles first. And maybe the real lesson isn't teaching our kids to fear strangers. Maybe it's teaching them that they never owe anyone access to them, just to avoid hurting someone's feelings. I know I'm working on that personally. Being able to say no to things, that's a big thing. And not just for kids. I mean, you're just so worried. We talked about this in our last episode about your persona or how someone's perceiving you. And you really should be thinking about what's the safest, smartest situation for you.
And that brings us to the case of Athena Strand.
Athena was 7 years old. She was living with her father and her stepmother in rural Paradise, Texas. And that's at the time that she disappeared. While she still remains connected to her mom, but I think her mom was in another state at the time. So she lived with her dad and stepmom.
Every picture that you see of Athena, she looks like a real average kid you'd see. Bright, funny, goofy, always smiling.
Yes, she was so cute. Her family described her as full of personality and light. And honestly, that is the part that makes this case so heartbreaking. Because it wasn't just a headline. She was a deeply loved little girl. And having kids is, you just empathize so much with every case that comes through the door. But this one, even more so, I think, than most. On November 30th, 2022, Athena disappeared after reportedly leaving her home following an argument with her stepmom. And at first, people just hoped she wandered off. And I can say that my daughter has done this, where she's picked up her stuff and said, I'm leaving, I'm moving out. She walked like to the end of the block and right back, you know. So I can see how a parent would just be like, oh, maybe she just went a little too far and wandered. So a huge search started off. Neighbors searched, law enforcement joined in, and eventually the entire community was looking for this little girl. But what nobody knew at the time was that Athena had already encountered the one person she never should have trusted.
What makes this case especially horrifying is how random it feels.
Authorities later identified a FedEx contract driver named Tanner Lynn Horner. And according to the investigators and court documents, Horner encountered Athena while delivering packages near her home. Or at least that's what they thought.
Horner originally claimed he accidentally hit Athena with his truck, then panicked and kidnapped her to avoid getting caught.
That was the narrative at first, and it made sense at the time. You could see kind of like naturally how it could have been a plausible answer. But during the death penalty phase that just ended of the trial, prosecutors directly challenged that story. And they argued that this wasn't simply an accident that spiraled out of control. Prosecutors called his explanation an absolute lie. Lie after lie after lie after lie, I think is what the quote said. Makes me think of a lot of other people that have been on the stands at court TV, just one after another. And once you start lying, what is it, Jodi Arias?
Oh, wow.
She said, I told somebody lies, I can't keep them straight.
Honestly, I think people wanted to believe it was an accident. I mean, that's easier to believe than someone that accessible to you and your family being a sociopath.
Right. If this was just panic, then that feels less terrifying than the thought that Athena encountered a predator near her front yard, in her neighborhood. Our brains naturally search, I think, for that explanation that makes the world feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
According to the investigators, Athena was alive and talking to him inside that truck. It's really heartbreaking. Athena was alive, and apparently he went to cover up the camera, but the audio continued to play. So during the penalty phase, the jurors and, everyone in the gallery heard that audio, and it was absolutely horrible. Jurors were crying. People left the gallery, just couldn't take it. That's how bad it was.
Did he attack her in the truck?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And one of the most heartbreaking details was right after, it was kind of in the beginning, she started to get scared and she said, "Are you a kidnapper?"
Oh.
And that one sentence just destroys you as a parent because you're thinking she knew what was about to happen. Like, this little 7-year-old girl knew what was about to happen. And I think that's the part that just makes me sick. I'm not saying all this to shock everybody and replay these horrific details, but it just makes you think how quickly safety can disappear once a dangerous person encounters that child and isolates that child. I think they said it was less than an hour before she was gone. Cause of death was blunt force trauma, strangulation, and smothering. But that's really not why we want to talk about this today. This could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can say as a mom, I don't think I have practical resources taught to my kids to be ready for something like that. And that's what prompted us to want to cover this.
Yeah, I don't have that either because I feel like we live in a safe area. My children are safe. I always know where they're at all the time. They don't really go anywhere out of our sight.
Even if you're in a safe neighborhood, all it takes is one psychopath to come in. Athena asked, why you shouldn't take me. She knew what kidnapping was because she was taught, she was taught that was wrong. So she was already somewhat prepared for what that meant. And still it happens. And she said, "Why did you take me?" And he said, "Because you're pretty."
Oh, gosh.
And I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. So I'm in my head thinking
I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old.
It's just hard.
When Beth came to me and suggested this, I thought it was a really good idea because it does trigger that conversation that you need to have with your children, because I think sometimes the people that are easier targets maybe or are more susceptible to predators and danger are the people that are oblivious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, but I was also shocked to hear that while people were actively searching for her, he was still doing his route.
Yeah. Like nothing happened.
What a sick... Don't get me started.
And I saw once guilty verdict came in, he had no reaction whatsoever.
I saw that.
Nothing.
I saw that.
Although I will say that's very common. I mean, for how many verdicts we've covered, a lot of people shut down that part of them. So I don't know that I always judge that, but the fact The facts
Well,
are
obviously, he
there.
murdered a 7-year-old.
The facts are there.
He's a
And he admitted
sick-
to it.
Yeah.
And you just can't help but think, I hope that was the first time, but that scares
That's
you
what I'm
so
sitting here
much,
thinking.
right?
Yeah. Is obviously if he was that comfortable,
Yeah. Well, he's on death row now, so.
yeah, no worries about him anymore. But still.
But the details are deeply unsettling because what it's really doing is forcing us to confront something that's super uncomfortable. That some people can commit horrifying acts and then act completely normal. And that is one of the hardest truths in true crime.
Yeah.
Because I get so emotional, like when I learn about other people, like other people's death, which is funny because being in true crime, you'd think I'd be a little tougher after all these years, but
Same.
I empathize so much
too.
and I get so invested in the story, and all I can think about is the families.
Yeah. Same. We need to have that conversation with our children, but me personally and my husband. But, I feel like with so many things nowadays, you're pushed to talk about things before you're ready to. But this is something that honestly needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they know we've told them be kind and friendly, but never stay where you can't see us. That's a rule when we're at ball fields. But I mean, honestly, this is just terrifying all around because a FedEx driver doesn't look evil.
No, the guy looks like just your average dude.
Yeah.
And in my head, when you think of these evil characters, you think of like, Dahmer and Gacy and all the
Yeah.
classic serial killers in your mind. And in the movies, they portray him as like, obviously that guy is sketch.
He's off in some way. But I mean, look at Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
They
That's right.
said, yeah, they said that he was totally like charismatic and
Yep.
sick.
The truth is, evil rarely looks like evil in real time.
Mm.
Sometimes it looks like a FedEx driver. And that is what I want to teach my kids. And I'm also trying to figure out exactly how to share this particular story. I think the hardest part of Athena's story is realizing how ordinary that moment looked right before everything changed.
I think this case forces us to confront something that people, parents, whomever it may be, really don't like talking about.
Yeah. That sometimes the people who make us uncomfortable deserve more attention than we give them.
And that's hard because nobody wants to sound judgmental.
Especially now, people are afraid to trust their instincts because they don't want to offend someone. They don't want to seem dramatic or paranoid or cruel.
There's also a difference between compassion and ignoring red flags. We've talked about this in previous episodes.
And I do want to be very careful here. Most mentally ill people are not violent. Most socially awkward people are harmless. And most neurodivergent people are not dangerous. But we're pretending that warning signs never matter, and I think that could be dangerous.
Yeah. Do you think that society sometimes overreacts?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we've become so afraid of misjudging people or, not saying the politically correct way to answer something that we sometimes turn off our instincts, like for a reason. Like we purposefully shut off our instincts because we're trying to convince ourselves that we are, not judging people.
Right.
I think that we become so afraid of judging people that sometimes we completely ignore our instincts altogether. And instincts exist for a reason. So we don't need to worry about the PC response all the time, but maybe think about more of like, we don't have to externalize every thought in your brain, but I think sometimes like you're so afraid of judging someone that you almost turn that part of your brain off on purpose.
I know sometimes, like women's instincts, but they say they're powerful, and I believe they are. Sometimes you get that gut feeling, and you're like, something's not right. And you just remove yourself from the situation. You don't have to overreact. You don't have to act simply remove yourself to a safe place out of the situation. Listen to your gut, trust your instincts. We said that the last couple of episodes. If you're feeling something, that's probably your mind and your body telling you to protect it.
Yeah. And like you said, just being aware
Yeah.
is like the biggest thing. Just not like listening, being alert, taking the situation in.
Observant.
And women are constantly taught to override discomfort. They don't want to embarrass people, don't assume the worst, don't be rude. But honestly, a lot of women survive in dangerous situations because they finally stopped worrying about being polite.
Predators often test boundaries before they ever attack, right?
Yeah, they definitely do. They watch who's hesitating, who's freezing, who's afraid to say no, looking for any kind of weakness that they can. Because that's the one thing that we know from trauma psychology is that many victims, they won't scream. They freeze. Like the normal reaction to trauma and fear is freezing. And I think that's the part we need to teach kids is that you're going to be afraid, but the best way to survive a situation is to scream, run, and tell somebody.
Yeah. Which honestly changes how we think about these situations.
Yeah, because we always say, why didn't they run? Why didn't they scream? But fear doesn't look dramatic most of the time. And fear doesn't instantly jog your memory. I was thinking about recently, our grill caught on fire.
Oh, yeah.
And the grease was like flaming. And I was shocked and I just stopped. And then I went to get water. Well, you can't put water on a grease fire. You got to put baking soda. And I would have just thrown the water on. But again, I knew that. But in the moment when you're scared, it's just not your go-to. Like it's harder to think clearly.
I think another uncomfortable truth is realizing danger often comes from ordinary environments.
Yeah. Like the world teaching kids to fear dark alleys and creepy strangers.
Yeah, that's a pretty normal response to those things, but
What's ironic is I feel like both of our husbands have also had an uncomfortable moment through a church organization, or, you might have an instance at school or through sports or friends. Those are like the real trauma because you think that you can trust someone
and you think you're safe.
and you're not.
Honestly, this is why the case hits so hard with us, is because it destroys the illusion that danger always announces itself first. And the truth is, most dangerous people don't introduce themselves as dangerous. Sometimes the difference between safety and tragedy is whether we listen to that gut feeling, that small voice telling us that something feels off.
Yeah. And one thing that stayed with me from the trial was hearing how much Athena's mother actually taught her about strangers and about kidnapping. And I think that's one of the hardest truths of this whole case is right there. Because sometimes parents can do everything right and evil still exists anyway.
Yeah. That's such an uncomfortable thing to talk about out loud.
Because you're trying so hard, right? And as a parent, you're like, if I prepare enough, if I teach them enough, if I yell loud enough, if I say it enough times, then nothing bad can happen to my baby. That's what you think in your brain or you tell yourself. And it's just not true. It's not the way the world works.
Honestly, that's my worst fear. My anxiety lets me think about it at least 2 times a day.
Really, even still? I know
Yeah.
you said when you were pregnant, they were little, it was
wow.
worse.
No, when I was pregnant, that was when I realized I had anxiety. It showed up when I was pregnant, but I still worry. I'm a worrier. And you think about just constantly wanting to protect them in any way you can. And that's your job.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Teach, protect.
Yep.
Try to help them grow into healthy, functioning adults. Even when you prepare them like that, unfortunately, that's not how the world works.
The truth is, there's always more beneath the surface. This is Unspoken Truths Unfiltered.
I think that Athena actually recognized the danger. I talked about that right away afterwards. Like, she asked him, like, are you a kidnapper? And she immediately, like, that gut feeling was times 1,000. She said, I'm not supposed to be here. My mommy told me I'm not supposed to be here with you. Like, she knew. It was clear she knew. And I really want parents listening to hear this. Athena's mother did not fail her. Her father did not fail her. Her stepmother did not fail her. Sometimes evil intersects with innocence, and there is just no way to stop it.
If we convince ourselves, well, my kid would know better, or my family would never let that happen, then we're actually learning the wrong lesson from this case. And we're probably putting ourselves in more danger by not accepting this truth.
Yeah.
That we need to have these conversations. We need to prepare our children.
Yeah. The lesson isn't be perfect, do all the right things.
Exactly.
It's about teaching our kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Awareness, instincts, boundaries. It's okay to upset someone when you feel unsafe.
Boundaries. That is the key to all of it, I feel like. It's, proximity to where you are to other people, who's around you, and knowing that space where you're safe and where you may need to be on alert, especially when there's a person you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
Or that you're not expecting. And understanding that we can't helicopter parent our kids forever. We
No.
can't child-proof life.
Right.
When it comes to this kind of manipulation.
Absolutely.
It's terrifying.
It's just another thing on the list we need to prepare them for. And it's getting longer and longer. That list is.
The older they get.
The older they get. And the more the world evolves, technology.
Yeah.
Different
We haven't even
things.
started. We haven't even talked about that.
No, we hadn't. We're getting there.
My parents, when we were young, we always talk about this. Like, we just ran out. Like, my mom would kick us out of the house. Like, she didn't want us in the house.
Yeah.
Before it was like the sun was starting to go down for dinner.
Right.
But until that, I was like, I could go anywhere I want in the neighborhood. It's just, now that we have more information, we just know.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the world's less safe in my mind. It means we just know more now.
We know more.
We didn't hear as much back then because we didn't have the means to share information.
You had a newspaper, a local one probably, and they might have had one. If it was a small paper, you have 1 to 2 reporters. I mean, how can they be everywhere?
Yeah. How would you even know? And probably most people didn't even want to share that news.
Right.
I think there may be some freedom, though, in accepting that, though, that even if you did everything right, this is still a possibility, because it does kind of lift that burden of like, am I failing them? But if that's what we're doing this video for, if we can start encouraging some of these honest, open conversations, I think that we can really help our kids. We can't eliminate evil from the world. We can only learn from it and learn about the warning signs, how predators manipulate people, learn how quickly situations can change. And maybe most importantly, as we keep saying, stop dismissing instincts just because we're afraid of being wrong.
The truth is, sometimes terrible things happen, even when loving parents do everything they can. And maybe the real lesson from Athena's story isn't believing we can completely escape evil. Maybe it's understanding that awareness, boundaries, and instinct are sometimes the only things standing between ordinary life and tragedy. And that's not hopeless. It's human.
The truth is, there's always more beneath the surface. This is Unspoken Truths Unfiltered.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is safety starts with permission. Permission to trust your instincts, permission to say no if you're concerned, permission to make people uncomfortable if that's what it takes to keep you safe. And honestly, I wish I and other adults could understand this and do this more often.
What's one safety lesson you wish more parents taught?
I think it's probably that there's really never a reason to talk to an adult or person that's an adult nearby, period. When they're by themselves and they come to you as a child, I think that that's just not normal usually. If it is someone you know, obviously you might know them, but I think I want my kids to be a little skeptical first.
Right.
I want them to like
Agree.
when they see someone like not immediately just be nice to that person because they're showing them attention.
Yeah, I totally agree. Honestly, children should know they can always tell you the truth without getting in trouble. I mean, we try to tell our kids that because predators thrive in secrecy and shame.
Yeah. It's tough sometimes too to keep that relationship open, but still keep the, parental figure boundary in place.
Mm.
We are working on that. But I do want, especially, my daughter, like I do want her as she's getting older to be able to come to me if, she needs to share a secret and not worry about me getting angry or my response.
That's what we tell our children. We say, this is your safe space. You're always safe at home. You can tell us anything. We will help you through it. We will work through it.
I love that. Do you guys use code words?
No, we should, but we don't. Not yet.
Yeah, we don't either. I mean, Logan and I joke and we'll say mistletoe when we're in an uncomfortable situation.
We say jackal.
Jackal.
But the kids know that because it's become a joke, but we should really have like a serious safe word with them. But yeah,
Mistletoe is a good one though, because
it's funny.
it's that movie with
Mhm.
Vince Vaughn, but he just always says it like mistletoe. Mistletoe. And he's a coder, and in that world, if you say lobster, apparently it makes the bots like shut down because like then they can find it through the transcripts and figure out where the bug is. So I've never tried it, but if you're ever on a bot call and you know you are, you should just try saying lobster. Just to see what happens.
Would you like to speak with a customer service representative? Lobster.
That's cool. I hope that happens.
Yeah. Cases like Athena's terrify parents because they shatter the illusion that danger is always obvious. And honestly, in a world where our children interact with more strangers than ever,
They do.
delivery drivers, rideshare drivers, well, not my children yet, but some children,
Yeah.
online gaming.
Oh, yeah. We turn them off.
We've
Shut that chat
shut
down.
Social media, nope. Public spaces, yes, we do. We're very active people. We go a lot, but they are safely. The rule is we have to be able to see each other. But these conversations matter. And honestly, we prepare kids for sports, school, tests, emergencies, but we rarely prepare them for danger and manipulation.
Yeah. The only conversation I can honestly think of having with my kids was revolving around the computer. Because I remember telling her, like, do not ever share your name, ever. I don't care who it is. Never give them your real name. And even that conversation alone, I don't think it sinks in. What are your thoughts on how to balance that line between, awareness and not scaring?
Honestly, Adam Walsh. And I can remember as a child what happened to him. And I did not know all the details. I did know that they found his head and that he, what's publicly known.
How old was his son? 5?
5. He was 5. But I remember that. And I remember after that happened, and because I was in South Georgia and this happened in Florida. And even back then, for that news to travel, I mean, like that, it was a national.
Yeah, I was in Philadelphia and it was
Up there,
my dad
yeah.
told me about it.
So I never lost my parents in the store after that. It was very, that's vividly in my brain as a child, that case. And we got to see John Walsh speak at CrimeCon a few years ago when we were with Court TV. And I was in tears, just
Yeah, I was too.
bawling about his rendition of what happened. And it is honestly amazing what he's done to help others out of that horrible, horrible tragedy. And I told my children about that. And because I wanted them, we don't have a safe word, but we have that. And I told
You
them,
told them the whole story?
I just told them that he was kidnapped by a bad man and that he died and they only recovered his head. And it was probably a mistake, looking back now, one of my many parent fails. But at the time, we had lost one of our children in a store. They like to wander. And I remember they called a code Adam over the store. And I've never been so scared in my life. Never been. And it was my youngest, and he was hiding in the clothes.
That's
They
what we would
found it.
do as a
They
kid.
found it, but they stood at the door. It was in Walmart, and
They wouldn't let people through?
no, they wouldn't let people through. They called a code Adam, and it was really quick. They were very responsive. I was very thankful. But the whole point of saying this is that I probably shouldn't have told them at that young age, but that fear of strangers and what happened to him. Like I said, he got lost in the store and he went outside. They kicked him out of the store, and a man came up and he got in the car with him. And it's that simple. It's, it's not, I mean, we don't know exactly what happened between the man and Adam, but we do know that he was taken. And I told them, I was like, this can easily happen to you. You have to stay where we can see you. You have to be with us all the time. And my oldest I could tell he was processing it and saying, okay. But my youngest was upset. It upset him. And that was definitely one of my lowest moments. But
I don't know, though, because again, that goes back to it's a memorable thing that sticks with you.
Yeah, but the fear is, do you teach them? It's that line. Do you teach them? Like fear. Okay, let's talk about it. Fear. We teach them, don't let fear control you. If you're scared, like my son's scared of getting hit with a baseball when he's playing baseball. And he's not playing this season because he got hit a lot with the kid pitching at him last season. And he's afraid of that. And I'm like, that's holding you back. You love this game. And you're letting that fear get inside your head. So we teach them, different things like that.
Yeah.
Fear can hold you back. But this kind of fear is important because they need to be afraid of people they don't know.
Yeah.
People that we don't know. If they need to be able to be afraid of getting out of our sight. When we tell them, kids push boundaries. That's the age they're at. Our children are at that age. They're pushing the boundaries. But when we say, stay where we can see you, don't push that boundary.
Yeah. 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 We've mentioned a few really practical ways, and that the answer is not locking your kids inside forever. But I also don't think it's pretending that the world is perfectly safe. I think that's a little naive. I think awareness is the key thing I keep coming back to. Just knowing that exists and understanding that if you're talking to someone and you don't know them and it turns out that that's okay to talk to, I'd rather my child run to me and say, hey, someone just started talking to me.
Right.
And I'll be like, oh, it's okay. It's the store person, but thank you for telling me. Like those little moments are like teachable lessons that I'm not doing now that I will be doing since this case.
Technology has honestly changed parenting.
Yeah.
Very much so. Like you were saying with the games, we really limit their games now. But for a time we let them, but they did have the different settings where you could allow them to not chat, or you could allow them to not accept friends. You had to do it. Like I have all the parental codes on that, but I mean,
it is tough because they go on YouTube and they see all these other kids doing all of it and they want to do it all as well. And you have to have that conversation. But I also think once they turn in, once they're teens, in their teen years, the technology is going to be an awesome thing. Like I'll know that cell phone, where it's at, that location will be on my thing. That will be so nice. Remember being kids, I think I had a pager for like 3 years.
I didn't have a pager till I was in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had Hello?
The brick? The Zach Morris phone?
I had that, yeah. And then I had the flip phone, but I didn't even know why it was a flip. It was just like a plastic.
Like a little piece?
Yes, but I was like, I have a flip phone. Yeah, it made no sense, but it's fine.
Do you ever have a car phone?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
even...
the bag phones?
Yeah, the bag phones.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We just needed that little tangent.
Yeah, we needed a laugh for a minute. It's heavy conversation. But yeah, I do believe that you can utilize technology for good. And I'm trying to teach my children that. I know you are too. So it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah. And the way I kind of do it is I'm teaching them it's more about connection and less like me surveilling their life. So this allows me to reach you quickly. And if you need me, you can get in touch with me quickly.
I like that.
And, little angles like that where I can still make them feel like I'm not saying this because I think you're going to be kidnapped today, but
Right.
I wanted us to know where we are at all times. And
Right.
I think that's the connection language that we can use. The truth is, this case doesn't have a good ending. It has a very horrible ending. And I think the only thing that maybe brings a tiny little bit of peace to that family is knowing that Tanner Horner will be sentenced to death for what he did. And seeing as how the jurors reacted listening to that video, it wasn't hard to believe that would happen. But it doesn't make it, I don't know. I don't know that is ever going to really fix somebody ever.
No.
You're broken.
Justice. Yeah, you're broken. Justice was served.
Justice was served. And now just think about all the families that are actually taking a look at this case and thinking about their families. It means so much to be able to process that and use that and not just think about this case purely because it was shocking.
This case will always stick with me too because of how horrific it was. It's taught me that I need to have a plan with my family. We need to sit down. I need to have a safe word for when anyone comes to pick them up that's not, me or their father or their grandfather. They need a safe word. In any other scenario, like at sports or church, they need to know what the word is, and then they know that they're safe to go with them. We've also should have a conversation about strangers. And even though you may feel comfortable, you never need to go anywhere with anybody. And kicking and screaming and hitting is always the best answer if somebody's trying to take you or if you feel not safe.
Yeah. A friend was saying that they used to call the FedEx driver, UPS driver, the gift man. It's like Santa. He brings the gifts, right? And in fact, that is what Tanner Lynn Horner was doing. He was delivering a Christmas gift when this happened. I want to teach my kids that everybody, even if it looks like they're safe, I'm talking about the pizza guy, the Uber driver, or just like someone that you're not regularly seeing, you need to maintain a distance from, and you don't need to be talking to them by yourself. And I know this is really uncomfortable to say, but it's something that I learned early on was if a woman's being sexually assaulted, she could pee herself, or, I don't know if you can defecate on yourself intentionally, but it's like a thing to thwart some kind of advancement. I think the point that I'm trying to make is having these conversations is what matters, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because if something happens, you will think about that for the rest of your
life. Yeah.
And it's unavoidable.
I know that family is, even though they didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, I pray that they can find support
and some peace.
Turn this into something that helps their family and not destroy it.
Yeah. Same.
To wrap all of this up, awareness matters. Instincts matter. Preparation matters. But none of those things make tragedy impossible.
Which is why cases like this shouldn't make us more fearful. They should make us more intentional, more connected. I feel a little less anxious and more like I have a plan now. More willing to listen to our instincts and each other too.
Yeah, because in the end, the goal isn't raising children who are afraid of the world. It's raising children who know their voice matters inside it.
This has been Unspoken Truths Unfiltered, and thank you for listening. And if you like this episode, please check us out on our website. The show notes also will have a link below. Please like and follow us. Also on our socials, we like to post little snippets throughout the week of what our episode is currently and what's upcoming. So if you're listening to this, you can see the full video version on YouTube or Spotify. So please check us out there. And tonight we're thinking of Athena, her family, and every parent trying to navigate a world that can feel both beautiful and terrifying at the same time.
And if you haven't yet, please join our email list. We're working on a new newsletter that will come out weekly with positive messages about the cases we're covering and the stories that still haunt us and the progress of our flagship podcast, Motherhood on Trial. And Autumn, what are we diving into next week?
We are going to be talking about Court TV.
Court TV. It's one you don't want to miss because we're going to take you behind the scenes of what actually happened. And I really don't think the story has been completely shared. So we're going to drop that truth bomb.
Thanks to our tribe who have been supporting us all along this journey, the ups and downs. We're all up now.
I thought you wanted to high five me.
And we couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Because the truth matters. And so does how we treat each other. Stay kind. Stay curious. Stay safe. Until next time.